Hello my friends, welcome to Walking with J.Beau, an almost daily walking vlog. I was going to do a woods hike today, but I don't much feel like it. Something I have to be in the mood to do. I'm just going to do a city walk. I'm going to do the 6-mile route, more or less. Got a few things to talk about today. Unfortunately, some bad things happened this weekend for everyone. You see a beautiful looking kind of a summer sky today, and it feels like a summer day. It is 83 degrees today. Very nice. It's not overly humid. It's comfortable. So we're gonna walk. This tree is trying to turn red. Kind of dull compared to last year. I've been noticing that a lot with the foliage this year. Pretty sky today. So my friends, I don't know where the hell we go from here. I really don't. Things are getting out of hand. I don't even know where to begin. So I guess we'll start with Trump deploying troops to Portland, Oregon. To send a message, a good one. Also, Broadview, Illinois needs troops sent there as well. It's outside of Chicago, basically Chicago ice. They had a lot of stuff going on live last night on the streams. So much stuff going on right now, I can't keep up with everything. Very rare for me. So we also had stuff going on with ice in Los Angeles. This is going to be a regular occurrence. So the left has declared war on ICE and immigration because they're fighting Trump, is what they're doing. ICE isn't doing anything different than they did when Obama was president. So we had an ICE agent arresting an illegal with a warrant at a courthouse, and the guy's woman got upset. Don't know if it was his wife, and she got into a shoving thing with the ICE agent, and he shoved her to the floor. She fell. Well, of course, the Democrats were calling for him to be fired, physical abuse, blah, 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 but The video was examined, and he was exonerated. He's reinstated back at work. So they're going to do this with everything. They tried to say Tom Homan took $50,000 in a cash handoff from the FBI. That's a defamation thing. That's bullshit too. So they're playing dirty, because that's all they can do. And they're on the wrong side of the ballot box, for one thing. People voted for this. So anyway, shootings. Holy crap, we've had 3 mass shootings in 24 hours. I wish I were lying. You're probably saying, wait a minute, I thought there was only 2. Well, there was a casino shooting in Texas. I don't know what that was all about, but there was bullet holes in the glass. Several people were shot. So, I don't know, somebody lost some money, flipped out. Have no idea what that was. I didn't have time to look into it. We're too busy watching other things. So if you know anything about the Texas casino shooting last night, let me know. Just before that, though, in Southport, North Carolina, there was a seafood restaurant on the ocean front called the American Fish Factory. The American Fish Factory as I'm attacked by gnats. The American Fish Factory had a guy in a boat pull up along dockside. There's a dock where people can bring their boat and get off the boat, eat, things like that. Yes, we got another secure election sign for voter ID. So anyway, he pulled up alongside this restaurant with a semi-automatic weapon, presumably an AR-15, and opened fire on the people in the restaurant from his boat. Apparently, 3 people were killed and 6 were injured. 2 people were killed quickly. One person was died while receiving CPR, medical treatment, on the way to the hospital. And turns out this guy is a piece of work. His name is Nigel Max Edge. And that was the name he changed it to legally. I had a French name, de Vorey or something like that. Anyway, he served and fought in Iraq. He was severely injured, and he claims that his own Marines did that to him. And he was severely injured. He had a severe head injury, damage to his skull. They had to fix that. From what I've seen from photographs, the guy should be dead. And he had a lot of conspiracy theories on his Facebook page. Really wild ones. He had filed lawsuits against the government, claiming that they were covering up Osama bin Laden. That was why he was being killed, shot at by his own Marines. that they were covering up the Abu Ghraib. Remember that? Abu Ghraib photographs out of the Iraq War, where they had prisoners standing on boxes with electrical wires to their fingers, and prisoners on leashes. That lesbian prison guard. We've been through some really wild times, I guess is what I'm saying. So anyway, this guy was blaming everybody. And in fact, when I was listening to the scanner talk while the shooting was going on, they hadn't apprehended him yet. They said that his address on Oak Island, they said the neighbor's boat was reported missing, and that the person fitting that description that they were looking for is the description they gave. They didn't give a name at that time. The Coast Guard picked up a vessel, followed it, and the guy was matching the description, getting off the boat. So he was detained, and now he's formally charged. So, and it was him. But on the scanner, they were talking about him, and somebody had called 911 and said they knew about him, and they said that he was a loose cannon, quote unquote. People in the town knew about him. Apparently, he would get into verbal altercations, and basically he was a nutbag. Mental issues, so it was very obvious. So I'm sorry he got wounded in combat and got a brain injury, which messed him up. I don't think there's a way to fix that other than to not have stupid wars like the one in Iraq. But make no mistake, my friends, we are at war. We are at war for this country. We have to stay focused, stick to the plan, not let this stuff ruin what we're trying to do. I saw 2 Democrat influencers online. They're not elected to office. They're trying to say this guy was a MAGA killer. He was MAGA. And that's what politics has devolved into. MAGA everything. Okay. So the other conspiracy theory is by this shooter, Nigel Edge, is that this was an LGBT conspiracy against him. So that's why they're calling him a MAGA shooter. I went to his profile and looked through his photos. It's not much there. A lot of photographs of his legal paperwork that he filed, accusing the government of really crazy things, which of course they were thrown out. So he was mad that the courts threw them out, because he honestly believes that's what happened, because he's nuts. So it's not like he's filing frivolous lawsuits and he knows they're frivolous. He honestly believes that the government is covering up what happened to him. Very obvious he has serious paranoia. Everybody's out to get him, which is very common with schizophrenia. though they have not diagnosed him with that. But he has been arrested. So he had a lot of photographs of Abu Ghraib, things like that. Photographs of him lying on the table at a surgical hospital in Iraq with a severe head wound, where they actually have something on his head holding his brains in, basically, and covered in blood. Guy should be dead. Very severe injuries. He also turned on family members. Family members who tried to tell him that he was having mental issues and he needs help. So he threw them on the pile of people against him, which is very similar to the Robert Card guy that did the mass shooting here. He had suffered brain damage and brain trauma from repeated explosive concussions as he was a grenade instructor for the National Guard. Which supposedly the Army has now decided to change how they train. So my point is, and I really believe this, I believe that evil has been unleashed on the world. People can scoff at that, but it's the way things are right now, at the levels we're seeing. This has gone beyond any pale of any normalcy at all, and I mean globally. And I believe this is just evil at work. We're seeing a war against Christianity, for one thing. Now we had the church, the Mormon Church of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc. Grand Blanc is French. Blanc meaning white. Great White Michigan, basically, is how it translates. So there was a mass shooting this morning. Very bad one. So bad that I'm still having a hard time absorbing it because of all the craziness that's been going on. We had a church shooting in Minnesota really not long ago. That's still fresh in everybody's mind. So now we had a church shooting today, this morning, where another 40-year-old man, the 40-year-old man, the guy that did the Southport, North Carolina restaurant shooting last night, is 40 years old, which means he was very young in Iraq. So 19, I'm guessing. So anyway, it's just crazy. So anyway, this yet to be identified 40-year-old man drove his car through the front doors of the church, started shooting people inside, shot at least 10 people. There's one confirmed dead. There's going to be a lot more dead added to that because unfortunately he drove through the entrance of the church. I haven't seen the photographs of where his car was or how far it went in or if it was blocking the front door. but then he set the church on fire. So he shot 10 people, set the church on fire, and the church is supposed to have exits, and people couldn't get out of the church. They fear, what they said was they fear some people could not get out of the church. Now the news report I saw, and again, because when these things happen, you never know how accurate they are, but it was being reported locally in Michigan by the news media that perhaps hundreds of people were in church. It was a popular church. There were many children, and a lot of people are unaccounted for, so can't say for sure that the death toll is going to go up, but it's pretty obvious that from scanner talk I heard that there were several people they feared trapped upstairs where the choir has rehearsals. Not a small church, it's a big church. I don't know what this guy's beef with the church was. We don't know what his motive was, but he was using an AR style rifle, according to what they said. He was put down relatively quickly by the police as soon as they showed up. So, still not clear to me if the police officers were on duty at the church, because a lot of churches have been opting to have security. But what do you do when somebody drives their car through the front door, starts shooting people, and sets a fire? My point is, it's not a small place. Covers a lot of real estate. It's a big building, and it would amaze me tremendously if nobody could go through any of the exits. So this may be like that person in Minnesota who blocked the exits basically with 2x4s before doing the rampage. So it may be similar to something like that. We'll have to wait and see, obviously. But it's looking like something like that. And I really hope and pray that not that many people were injured or killed. And I hope the ones that were injured recover. Have something like this happen and have one person shot and killed would be a blessing. Even though one person obviously is too many. I don't have all the details on that. That's just what I heard reported, which is confirmed information, not rumor. I don't report rumors. Now last night, in the restaurant shooter, a lot of people on the internet were reporting the guy who ended up doing it. It was him. But at the time, it was unconfirmed. And I don't run around like everybody else doing what other people do on the internet, trying to pretend like they have new information, like they're the first ones that got it. They don't cite their sources, they don't say where the info comes from, and more importantly, they don't say that this has not been confirmed. So, So I don't know what the hell people are thinking, but I do know that we have a lot of mentally sick individuals right now doing evil things, and it's long been known that evil will manifest in the weak-minded or the insane first. It's been like that for a long time. So we'll find out more information on this church shooting. But one thing cannot be argued, that there is a war against Christianity. Christians are being murdered globally. A few short years ago, several churches in Canada were set on fire. Many of them. It was getting out of control for a while. At least 8 I can think of over a 3-year period. So what I'm going to suggest to you is, if you have not been carrying a firearm, or you don't have one in your house for protection, I'm going to keep beating this dead horse, because there's a lot of people that still are hesitating. They're not doing it. And the world is getting crazier. I cannot predict the future, but I do know that you're going to need something. Of course, you have to do that legally, always. And more importantly, you need to train. Like I talked about yesterday a little bit. So I don't have any answers other than, if something happens, you need to be ready, because it'll happen fast. That's why the training is important. Now, I don't mean training like obstacle course training, rolling around in the dirt. That's good training, but I'm 57 and I'm not rolling around in the dirt for nobody, not even anybody shooting at me. Funny as that may sound, I'll duck and cover and return fire, but I'm not going to be sprinting across an open field, jumping behind objects anytime soon. For one thing, that wouldn't be very smart anyway in the open. But you get what I'm saying. So stay safe. Stay safe, my friends. Idiot doing a wheelie. Doing a wheelie on a motorcycle, not really made to do a wheelie on. Didn't know if we were going to see an accident with somebody being stupid. Could happen. There's a lot of stupid people. So we have been seeing a lot of violence lately From Charlie Kirk being assassinated to a church shooting, another church shooting. We're having mass shootings on a regular basis now. Things are heating up. People are reaching their boiling points. Can't imagine why somebody would hate the world so much that they would want to harm other people. I mean, even if the world was mean to you and you hated these people for doing it, how could you be such a selfish prick that you're going to take yourself out, but you're going to take all the people you can with you? What happens to somebody to make them be that selfish and vindictive and angry and evil? Another pretty sky shot. I mean, there's a lot of nice sky today. So I don't know what happens to people that cause that. I just can't even imagine. I don't have anything like that in me at all. I get very angry when things happen. I think feeling retribution and revenge is a natural feeling, but it has to be for something freaking legitimate. You know? Some guy that lives next door to you kills your kid. You know, I would understand his anger and doing something crazy to the person that did it. You know, that makes sense. But very often insane people do not make sense. So you have to rationalize things as a human that is sane, and you can't rationalize why somebody would do that because you're not crazy. But there is a mental health problem in this country, and it seems to be predominantly among young people, even though the two of the mass shootings this weekend, probably the third one as well, were done by people 40 and over. So till we know the reasons behind these shootings, the one in North Carolina is very obvious mental illness from a brain injury. So this person's probably had issues for a while. What I want to know is if he's made violent threats to people and people just shrugged it off, nobody did anything, or if somebody close to him knew that this could happen and did nothing. I don't know what North Carolina has for red flag laws. I have no idea. So I do know that we'll get some Halloween decor this year. There was a lot on this house last year. These will be inflated and lit up at night. So I do know that there's a lot of people with bad thoughts. A lot of people angry about their situation. Maybe they see there's no way out. But again, you know, if you're going to take yourself out, don't take other people with you. I mean, geez, that's so bad. You know, I can't understand the logic there. There's been a lot of instances throughout history where people had behaved like that. And, you know, it's nothing new. It's just we're seeing a lot more of it than we ever have. I mean, in the 70s, there were people called jumpers. They'd go out on the ledge of a building threatening to kill themselves. You know? Very rarely did people want to take people with them. You had a couple of tower sniper situations where people did do that. So, you know, this isn't something completely new. But it's crazy. So I don't know what the hell. Tree's turning a little more. Well, we're just going to have to go along for the ride and see where we end up, my friends. Because, guys and girls, I don't see it getting better anytime soon. This isn't a President of the United States issue. It's not a government issue. This is a complete moral fabric breakdown of America. I blame a lot of it on lack of structure. Could be family structure. Lack of a good home growing up, and I don't even mean like abusive parents, I mean just parents not being around. You know, kids getting lost into other things, fantasy lands, whether it's the trans thing, the neighborhood crime, selling drugs, criminal activity, whatever it is. A lot of it manifests itself as drug use also. You know, these kids have no hope of any kind of future at all. They're taking drugs, they're tuning out, they're living on the internet. That's a big part of it. And this is what we're getting. Past 20 years or so of people living on the internet and having really terrible lack of faith in God. And, you know, religion offers structure. Good, bad, and a lot of this stuff is, you know, just a lack of morality, lack of morals, scruples. Everybody in life wants to step on the guy in front of them to get ahead of them so they can have more. They don't care if it hurts them or their family. They don't care if it hurts them. Selfishness. They just don't care. They do not care about you or anyone else. And it's a plague. And you know, I'm starting to get hardened. What do I mean by hardened? Well, you know, a few short years ago, you'd have a shooting. I'd think about some kids that died, or, you know, sometimes you'd tear up. You'd feel terrible. I'm not feeling that anymore, and I don't know what that is. not a lack of empathy. It's more of, it's not even getting used to it. It's, I understand the evil. It's evil. I understand why it's happening. That's why. I have answers. And a lot of times when people get upset, you don't have answers and you want this to stop. You feel bad, like, oh, this could have been avoided. I'm so sorry for this person. And now from like a religious point of view, I feel absolutely horrible that happened. But at the same time, I don't feel like crying about it. And I'm sure that's not normal, but that's how I feel because I've always felt empathetic. And right now it's like, okay, well, that happened today. It's going to happen again next week. It's going to happen the week after. It's becoming commonplace. What I'm getting now, so I'm getting angry about it because it keeps happening, and I'm angry about it for a bunch of different reasons, but mainly because I can see the value of people just not doing that, you know. I'm getting angry because I wish it would stop. I've had enough of it. I'm fatigued by it, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm sure a lot of you can relate. I mean, every other day something's happening. Whether it's a bombing, some kind of war stuff. Getting inundated by friggin' gnats. Get lost, man. It's because my face is sweaty. So anyway, guys are working on that old Camaro from the 80s. Looks like a late 80s, mid 80s somewhere. We've passed that quite a few times. So I got very emotional when Trump was almost assassinated, because that was so close, and for a couple of minutes I didn't know if they had got him. Hindsight told me that, you know, because he put his hand up to his ear and then he had the presence of mind to go down on the stage. Typically we know what happens when people get shot, they just drop. So that was good, but I was very angry and upset, and I was upset at the media. That's who I was angry with. You know, these people are in the media, you know, they're friggin' whores of Babylon. They really are. Whores. Corporate whores. Or whores for the corporate media. It's like Jake Tapper was talking with Speaker Johnson today about the looming shutdown, and talking with the president, and Jake Tapper was more interested in trying to find out if President Trump sicked his Department of Justice on James Comey, like James Comey was innocent and did nothing wrong. And it made me sick. Montello Manor is just past those lights.
Those lights up there?
Those lights up here, you drive past the lights and it'll be a left. My mother was there a long time ago, which she's gone now, but she stayed here for a little while because she had diabetes. I've been there many times.
Oh, okay. So get to the traffic light and turn left.
Right, don't turn left at the light, go past it. You'll see it. There's a big sign that says Montello Manor on the lawn. It's kind of hidden from here, but you'll see it past the intersection. See if she finds the, she stopped and asked me directions for the nursing home. I told her the first left past the lights. She'll see the sign on the lawn. Yeah, she is. She found it. Grandma found it. All right, so look at all these bad things happening. And it's becoming commonplace. And the media is just as much of scumbags and sleazebaggery that we've seen before. Very, very clearly, they hate Donald Trump. And the thing is they hate Donald Trump as people. And they're also being edged towards defaming Trump all the time. That's the media approach they've taken because they support Democrats. So Jake Tapper has used up all his tricks over the years. So I see everything he does now, every vocal angle he takes, trying to get the Speaker of the House of Congress to say Trump went after Comey. And Speaker Johnson today reiterated that a grand jury indicted Comey, not President Trump. It was based on evidence. James Comey is guilty, lying to Congress. He is going to go to jail for perjury. He felt he was above the law, just like all of these Democrats do, because, well, I did this to Hitler. Why should anybody care about that? I'm never going to get prosecuted for doing something to Hitler. And if Trump had not won the election, nothing would have been done about it. So this has to be done for the sake of the country. And I'm very happy he's doing it. And to watch the Democrats in their arrogance say things like, this is setting a new precedent. What are you talking about? Democrats have been locking up Republicans. Anybody who helped up Trump, anybody who helped Trump was sued. Look what they did to Mayor Giuliani over the election stuff. They awarded a ridiculous amount of hundreds of millions of dollars to the people working at who were volunteering election workers. So they had a great payday. They're never going to get any money because Giuliani doesn't have the money. But this was all part of the soiling anybody who befriended Trump. So they're being treated like Nazi accomplices. And that's what it is. So they did that. Now they're going to try to deny that they did anything like that when everybody saw what they did with their own eyeballs. The majority of the country just voted for Hitler. So that should tell you that the American public doesn't believe what you're saying when they call him Hitler. I mean, common sense would be common sense, wouldn't it? I wouldn't vote for Hitler. It's not because I was conned. It's not because I was brainwashed by MAHA. It's because the left is a freaking cancer on this country. It is blatantly obvious. Now we got this shutdown looming. And, you know, Chuck Schumer got ridden pretty hard back in March for caving in. He caved in last year as well. And, you know, before I explain that, I got to explain the process that they usually do in Washington. That is not the way it was set up constitutionally, but that's the way DC has been doing it for years now, long before Trump came along. They've been doing this since Bill Clinton, maybe even before. But you have a budget, appropriations, and you have reconciliation bills. And what Congress usually does, because it's a lot of work, is they kick the can down the road to another date. And then you get a log jam every year, and we've all seen this around Christmas time. Then what happens? They have to do a big omnibill bus to fund the government and do everything, and then all these politicians loaded up with pork. Billions and billions, sometimes trillions of dollars in spending that isn't necessary. That's how we ended up with Obamacare. Nancy Pelosi waited until Christmas time, passed it in the middle of the night, and that cost us billions of dollars. And so Chuck Schumer is trying to play that same playbook. What they have always done is they do that, and then the Republicans always cave. The Republicans always cave because they're afraid of the media. They're afraid of the backlash. They think it's going to cost them elections. When in fact, because they did that, that was causing them elections. And now we have somebody with a spine in the White House who has said we're not doing that. Chuck Schumer threw in stuff because he has to give the appearance that he's fighting Trump to his base, because they were so unhappy with him that AOC is going to unseat him and he won't be a senator. And my friends, that will happen. So he caved in earlier this year after caving in last year, and he's lost a lot of strength in his party because of it. So he's serious. That's why I know we're going to have a shutdown. And we're going to have a shutdown because I know Trump's not going to cave. Thune isn't either. We don't have McConnell, the turtle, the rhino. I'm not completely convinced on Thune, but Trump is not unpopular in the party. So until Trump is unpopular with Republican voters, Thune's going to do what Trump wants, which is good. And the government's going to be shut down because they're only going to have 2 days to work on this. There's going to be 2 votes this week, and we're going to see if Schumer caves on it. He put tax dollars in there funding Medicare for illegals. Schumer did. Republicans aren't going to do that. They absolutely cannot do that. There's no Republican voters that are going to support that. So now John Fetterman has said that he's going to vote to not have a shutdown. And he said he's going to do that because this is a straightforward reconciliation bill. The Republicans didn't put any pork in it. The Republicans are trying to get the government back on track and be responsible, and to stop with the pork products. So you're supposed to do 12 individual bills throughout the year instead of letting them all pile up into an omnibus. And the Republicans are back to doing that. So let me see where this goes. The truth of the matter is, and this is exactly what happened, is Chuck Schumer has painted himself into a corner. Because the Republicans are not going to cave. And I know in the past we've always said, Republicans will cave, they always cave. But we didn't put anything in this bill for them to cave and compromise with intentionally, because everything that's going to be in it that's added extra is Democrat stuff. And Republicans are not going to vote for that. So it's already passed in Congress. Now it's going to go to the Senate, where it needs 60 votes. That's the problem. You need 7 Democrat votes. John Fetterman said he's going to vote for it. So we need 6, I think. Actually, we're going to need 7 because you're going to have the majority. So J.D. Vance may end up breaking kind of tie on that. I don't know how that works. But I do know that the Democrats are in a hole. And I watched Hakeem Jeffries talking to the media today. Complete gaslighting, lying and bullshitting. They're trying to play tough for their base. So they may do one of those things where they'll look like they're tough till the last minute and then say they tried. I'm going to try to find some sacrificial Democrats to vote for it. I think John Fetterman is very tired with the politics of the Democratic Party. It's like John Fetterman has a stroke and he ends up being like the sanest Democrat. He's not on board with everything that's Republican. But, I mean, how would you guys feel if he left the Democratic Party and joined the Republican Party? Joe Manchin left the Democrats, but he wanted to remain an independent, and he thought he could get reelected again, but he found out there's no money. There's no money in being an independent. So that's why you see Bernie Sanders and Angus King here in Maine. They caucus with the Democrats, even though officially they're independents, because they get Democrat money. And they always vote for the Democrats. So they're not truly independents. So I think John Fetterman should do what's best for the country right now. put the country first. The Democratic Party's not going to do that. So he's going to have to realize that he's siding with communists. And John Fetterman's not a communist. That's why he's standing out and sticking out, because he's speaking up. Probably wants to say a lot more. Another reason why he'd be good as a Republican is he's in Pennsylvania. Problem is, with a lot of the Democrat base, they have been conditioned to hate Republicans as racist and Nazis, and John Fetterman has been saying stop calling them that. So that's another thing he's been doing over the last couple of weeks. You know, he said President Trump's not a Hitler. You know, we got to stop saying that. You know, Hitler was responsible for millions of deaths, and genocide, and everything else. So he was saying, you know, we got to stop that. Stop talking like that. You know, the other problem is you have a lot of establishment Democrats. They don't honestly believe the stuff they're saying. They just always follow the political winds. It's always politics. They just always play politics. Whatever side benefits their party, that's the side they take. They don't care if it's right or wrong. Chuck Schumer is extremely out of touch. You know, I thought it was an act for a while, but I just really think he's been in that DC bubble for so long, he is out of touch. Completely out of touch with reality. And right now he's not putting the country first. He did that earlier this year, and they really came down on him hard in his party. They were talking about removing him as minority leader. He has to appear to be fighting against Trump. And that's the downfall of Trump being so powerful politically, as a political figure. Trump is as big a name as Roosevelt, Abraham Lincoln, any of the big presidents that are memorable. Trump is in that camp. And Abraham Lincoln had many Democrat enemies. In fact, one tried to kill him. Actually did kill him, I should say. An angry Democrat. So Abraham Lincoln made a lot of tough decisions that rubbed people the wrong way, like arresting people, charging them with treason, having Americans put to death. He made a lot of tough choices, but he did what was necessary to save the country. And Abraham Lincoln was not revered by Democrats for many years, in fact decades, until they found it politically expedient to get the black vote. Same people that used to own slaves now get the black vote. I mean, you can't make this up. Especially when they talk about reparations and all that. Why don't you ask Chuck Schumer for the money? His party did it. Confederate South. Democrats. Them's are the facts, folks. I did not make it up. There's nobody sane in the Democrat Party right now that's a leader that will come in and we're going to stop doing this way. We're not going to do that way anymore. We're going to settle things down and start being responsible. So they don't have anybody in the party that's going to do that. They have a bunch of young radicals that are gaining momentum, like AOC, stuff like that. She wants to get rid of Schumer. She had gotten into it with Nancy Pelosi for a while. So good news is we're not in trouble. The Democrats are in trouble. So we're just going to keep being sane, doing the right things, and the rest will fall in line. It would be a lot easier for Democrats to come up with policies and stop having Trump living in their heads. But they believe their solution to being in power again is to get rid of Trump, when they don't seem to understand that Trump's going away anyway. After this midterm election, they're not going to be talking about Donald Trump. And they're going to persecute Donald Trump if Democrats win the House. They're going to impeach him, try to remove him from office, just so the Democrats can say the Trump experiment era is over. J.D. Vance is not who you want for president because he'll be more of the same. So that's how they're going to look at it. The last 2 years of Trump's presidency, he's not really going to, if he doesn't have Congress, he's going to be a lame duck for the last 2 years. So Trump has not been president for 5 years yet. Let that sink in. He's got 2 terms and he hasn't even been president for 5 years yet. So now we got another yes on 1 sign. This is good. Seeing a lot of yes on 1 signs. Many more than the no on 1 signs. Very warm today. It's in the 80s. Low 80s. It feels nice. 4.5 miles. All right, let's get up this little hill here. Ooh. Oh. Got the old blood pump working today. Shadows are getting long. Pretty soon, sooner than you think, it'll be dark right now at this time. Whew. Bugs are out today. That's one good thing about when it gets cold, is the bugs go away. And they will go away. I don't like bugs. That's what they do. They bug you. Oh man. So round and round where we go, friends. Where we stop, nobody knows. It's snowing leaves. We got some pumpkins, some squash, different things growing in the garden. No, I haven't seen my deer friends out here. For a while. A little while anyway. So last night I fell asleep to, excuse me. It was a movie that came on YouTube called The Neutron Bomb Movie. It was the history of the neutron bomb and what it does. Neutrons were first discovered as the center of an atom, part of the nucleus, long before the atom was split. Nobody knew how to harness it or get it. And some scientific research was being done on nuclear explosions underground. And there was a nuclear program designed for civilian use. And they wanted to learn more about nuclear radiation, fission and fusion. Something landed in the woods there. I don't know what the hell that was. But anyway, back to my story. What they noticed when there was a nuclear detonation was you had the bad radiation. Then you had neutrons. Neutrons would be emitted because there's two different types of radiation from a nuclear explosion. And anyway, they wanted to harness just the neutron radiation, because the neutron radiation would go through whatever it went through and then it would be gone, leave no residue. So there would be no radioactivity left behind. The problem is they were only getting that neutron effect from an atomic explosion. What they needed was nuclear fusion instead of fission. So this guy said he went and got all the testing they did and the underground stuff, the information he got, and he figured it out in his own head, this guy. He went home with a slide rule, had a very sophisticated slide rule, and he did the calculations. And he came up with the formula to make a neutron bomb. And that's what he did. They perfected it. They even made small battlefield weapons with it. Ronald Reagan loved it because he saw it as a tool and a weapon to defeat Russia, with forcing them, because Ronald Reagan wanted to get rid of nuclear weapons altogether. But they needed something new. So he talked about the Star Wars Defense Initiative, SDI, and he talked about neutron warheads being launched in space, which they didn't have the technology to do then, but they do now. We do now. So had a whole fleet of angry hornets coming up the road. So anyway, the neutron bomb explodes, and neutrons will dissolve and destroy human tissue, the structures that allow it to form, because it mutates all of the atoms in your body and molecules. So that's what they did. They invented that, and the unfortunate part of it is after the detonations, anything that was living outside the immediate area where everything would be killed instantly, people died not so instantly. And they tested this on live animals, and many pigs were sacrificed in these tests. But the thing is after the test, there was no radiation. So all of these animals were horribly injured, but there was no radiation. It was all internal. All their cell structures were decimated. And you end up vomiting your own blood and your organs, because your organs dissolve. Everything, you know, your whole body just breaks down. That's what they said. Horrible vomiting of blood, and you basically vomit your organs, your guts. It's really a horrible thing, like both ends, okay? You don't live long, if you live at all. And then what they noticed was the people that were outside the blast radius, which were animals, they tested this on monkeys. What happened was if you had a neutron bomb explode, like a battlefield one, what it does is it renders the people on the ships unable to perform their duties. A tank driver won't know how to drive a tank. It will cause mental confusion because some of the brain cells were destroyed. Not enough to kill them. So theoretically they could live for a while after, but they're not who they were, and they don't know how to do anything. So it would render complete armies useless. Probably the most destructive weapon ever invented, because it's effective, it works. It could be used. You could bomb whole cities, kill everybody in it, and then just move into the cities. All the buildings would be intact. Everything would be usable. There'd be no radiation sickness. Think about that. How powerful that is. So he said what happened was George Bush Sr., after Ronald Reagan's was done, ended that program for the sake of humanity, and we actually destroyed thousands of nuclear warheads in the deal with Russia. We had thousands and thousands of nuclear warheads that we had made. We had neutron bombs, we had hydrogen bombs, and we destroyed them all, and we used the materials that we used for them for civilian use. So they did that for civilian use. So anyway, they destroyed all the nuclear weapons, most of them. And make no mistake, we still have a pretty large nuclear stockpile, just not like we used to. You know, we only have 5,000 warheads now, 5,300. The Russians have more than we do, but only by about 400 warheads. And I've seen that argument online. Oh, if we had a war with Russia, they have more nukes than we have. Well, I have news for you, buddy. You don't need 5,000 friggin' nukes to begin with. That's way too many you need. It would destroy the whole world a few times over. So when you make comments like that, you sound ignorant, because you are. Russia's got 5,700 and we've got 5,400. So yeah, Russia's got more nuclear warheads. What friggin' difference does that make when you can destroy the world with 400? I mean, it's stupid. So anyway, we have 5,300 or so, 400, whatever it is, and we've destroyed thousands of them. So I'd say things got out of hand. So anyway, that's just one of those things. So anyway, the neutron bomb, very, very horrible weapon. Absolutely the worst one ever invented, because it would be easier to use than it would be a conventional nuclear weapon, because you're not going to have any residue left over. So the temptation there is to use it. You could use that in Ukraine. You could kill all the Russian soldiers on the battlefield, everybody. But what would be the consequences from that? Russia would retaliate, and they would hit us with ones that hurt. So we worked on hypersonic missile technology, and we abandoned it because the problem was they were going so fast that the missile itself would get red hot and explode. We didn't have the materials to compensate for that. We didn't have the technology. Russia claims to have that now, and they have fired hypersonic weapons, so we know they have them, and I'm sure we do too, and it's just top secret or something. But hypersonic would take minutes, just a handful of minutes to get here from Russia. It would be really terrible. So anyways, my friends, click like and subscribe, share the content, say a prayer for Trump and the country. God bless America. Stay safe, and enjoy the meeting tomorrow in the White House with Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. Meeting with Trump about the budget, with Leader Thune and Speaker Johnson. The last time they met, Trump ended up getting in a shouting match with Schumer, and let's see what happens this time. So anyways, my friends, we'll see you guys later. Bye bye, stay safe. See ya.